We end up usually
You can't feel the little click.
one of the, I cut some trees down out there, but,
I went to the front because I thought
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be fun.
three trees on the trail.
oh no. Okay.
You guys got the foundation?
Well, I was just at the dog park and they're just going to put it really good.
What I did,
February. Okay. That's February, okay.
send it in,
All right.
and then they respond that they received it. And then, between now, it had to be done by the 1st of December, and then they reviewed it. I remember actually, they sort of did the same thing, they did something on that little part, and then they select like 3 or 4 or 5 from the school district, and then no problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
You said it was.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that.
oh, that's okay.
It would have been fun, and I don't want you to really ruin everything.
Well, there was
so bored. Not the gym show.
Well, when I did
No. I didn't go down. I went down for New Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
My mom found out that she was a sister. Weird. She was an only child all her life. Found out she had treated. And so we've been sort of progressively trying to get to know each other. So yeah, well, one has passed away. And the other two were one stayed overnight, the left two stayed in the morning with her.
How are you, Dan? How are you, Richard?
And her husband. She got some meat.
So you're not done with this area yet?
And that kind of stuff. But, well, the younger one is 2 years older than me.
What you just said it goes.
And I'm like 85 February.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Hello.
Was that your chair? No, was that your coat? Yeah, that's my stuff.
Now you can.
She will not be with us.
Yeah, in between us. With my big hair to go. Yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, I got into you. Yeah, and the funny thing is these two teenage boys are cousins. But she feels more like a cousin, and they feel more like nephews or something, or something like that, yeah. So it's a little weird, but it's all good. So when I'm done here, I get to go back home. So I want to get it done. I've been leaving town this weekend, and I want to run out the fumes and everything.
A lot of people.
Yeah, just a little bit. Well, I did a little small section from my garage, like it ended up being 10 by 5, or 8 by 5, one of the two. I can't remember. But it was like, so I took it to the back door and I had the garage, and I made it over one room. So it was wonderful. Because I actually have somewhere to come in, leave my boots, hang my coat up, sit down and put on my whatever.
Like the soft orders, this regular board, Saugatuck Township board, January 8th at 6 p.m.
No, there's a lot of crackle. Oh, you can hear it now?
And the crackle.
Oh, good.
Oh, leave both.
Really?
Does this one work?
Yeah, that one works.
Oh, there we go. It's on our list.
Okay, I'll repeat myself. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Township Board for January 8th at 6 p.m. If we could all stand and say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now we'll do the roll call. Bickford? Here. Osmond? Here. Helmrich?
Here.
Marcy? Here. We have a quorum. Stacy is not here. Okay, we'd now like to open this meeting to public comment. We do limit those minutes, those comments to 3 minutes for people speaking for themselves, and 5 minutes for people speaking for a group. I think we're going to have a new timer that will show on the screen. You can tell when your 3 minutes are up.
Yeah.
That way we can pay attention to your comments and not to your timeline. So is there anybody in the second row that would like to step up? State your name and address, please.
Richard Donovan, Lakeshore Drive, Saugatuck Township, speaking on behalf of the Friends of the Blue Star Trail, so I get 5 minutes, but I'm not going to take them. Just wanted to quickly say thank you for considering the joint resolution about the Blue Star Trail, on which Cindy and Brenda, among others of us, worked very hard. And as you know, Cindy has already passed it, and Douglas is due to consider it soon. You've probably seen the recent articles about the fact that we did lose that $200,000 pledge, but we are still very much in the game and very much interested in pursuing the north section, which includes the township, and we're happy to answer any questions when you get to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, Dan Keller, 2809 Lakeshore Drive, on behalf of the Lake Michigan Shore Association, and I'm one of the impacted homeowners by the closed Lakeshore Drive. Since we last saw you, you probably may have seen on the front page of the commercial record today. The sinkhole has become dramatically worse. The bluff erosion really hasn't changed much, but there is now a fault line just north of that at the next house up, where the top of the bluff is starting to slide away. So the situation's not getting better with the beautiful publicity that Scott provides. It's become a tourist destination. We have cars driving up there, people parking right at the closed road, getting out and wandering around the sinkhole, looking over the edge of the bluff, taking photos. It's dangerous. There's been nothing done to try to not fix the sinkhole, it's just fill it with anything, just so you don't have somebody fall into it and somebody get really hurt. So we're concerned that that's a problem. Nothing's happening other than they put a nice road closure up. Another update, Dana and the county have identified a number of potential temporary workarounds to enable residents to have access. All these temporary workarounds involve significant incursion on people's property. The neighbors do not believe that temporary has anything to do with temporary. In fact, it will become permanent. So as a result, there are no neighbors that have agreed to anything. So at this point, the neighbors are not agreeing to the temporary solution. We're looking for a real long-term solution, one that will actually fix the problem and that the neighbors can buy into. Those exist. We've sent several proposals now into Dana and the county that have viable long-term solutions. We've been hoping that the meeting that was supposed to be scheduled in mid-January would actually happen. So far, in any Griffin you bounce back, it hasn't, because you're waiting for some input from some state officials or whatever. But the lack of meetings like that happening and the lack of real action causes the neighbors to believe nothing is happening. And if nothing's happening, nobody believes temporary is really 6 months to a year. It's more like 3 to 5 years. and nobody's going to agree to have a road go right through their house for 3 to 5 years. So that's an ongoing issue that we'd like a little more urgency on. The resolution you have on the table tonight looks like a nice resolution. To me, that's all it appears to be is nice. You're asking for favorable consideration from people if you need assistance. There's nothing about an emergency disaster declaration. There's nothing about sourcing funds, proactively looking for funds, proactively doing anything, or it doesn't come across that way. So I'd urge you to make more urgency into that and more specifics as to what you're really going to do. It's nice, it's good, but it probably could be better. And my last point again is just reiterating, to the extent that we can see that there's real action happening on a long-term plan to correct the solution, then we've got a better chance of getting a short-term solution that somebody could agree to. And if by chance the short-term solution fed right into the longer-term solutions, you're not creating two answers. So much to that. So, thank you.
Next, in the second row. Third row, anybody like to speak? Hi, Jane Dickey, town 6108, Old Elgin Road in the township. And I just briefly wanted to come to commend you on doing a resolution of support, indicating where your perspective lies in supporting the master plan and the alternative marina plan. I think it's essentially important that you publicly stand for best practices and what is going to make our environment secure and safe for all the species in and around the proposed marina. So I just wanted to quickly just be here to thank you, and then I'm going to rush home to dinner and hope you do real well when you get to 11D. Next person in the third row. Is there anybody else in the third row? Fourth row?
Members of the Township Board, my name is Carl Gabriel. I'm here on behalf of North Shores Saugatuck. On your agenda for tonight is a discussion of the letter from members of the Coastal Alliance asking for this board to approve and adopt the proclamation that was attached to it. North Shore has concerns over both the procedural way in which this is being taken up, as well as the substance of the resolution itself. Procedurally, this is very unusual, and I would even say improper in the way that it's being addressed. For a resolution such as this, which was not drafted by the township manager, not drafted by the township's attorney, anybody, to be placed on tonight's agenda as a full-fledged item of business, rather than simply an acknowledgement of a receipt of correspondence as something like this normally is. And for a resolution, the usual and proper method for consideration is for the township manager to facilitate a thorough review of the issue and to provide this board with memorandum summarizing its conclusions. Like the memo you have before you on the shoreline erosion and the Blue Star Trail. That's exactly how it's supposed to be done. Notably, in that review, it includes consideration of impacts to budget, impacts to input from appropriate committees and studies, and a review by the township attorney. None of that occurred here. Now, substantively, this proposed proclamation is as unique as they come, and I don't mean that in a positive way. The members of the Coastal Alliance, with whom the township is actively in litigation against at this point, is asking you to issue a proclamation which singles out North Shore despite a federal court order prohibiting unequal treatment. It cherry-picks provisions from the master plan to support the Coastal Alliance's goals. It advocates against a boat basin design, which this township has already approved, and which this township's independently hired planner described as embodying a conservation-based design. It would impose an entirely new set of zoning regulations on North Shore in violation of a federal consent decree. It asks this board basically to back a half-baked alternative marina design, which the Army Corps has already rejected as being unfeasible and impractical. It twists the meaning of the water access ordinance to fit the Coastal Alliance's agenda, and it incorrectly recites that the township owns the land underlying the dugout road right-of-way. I trust you can understand why, at a minimum, a thorough review by the township manager would be appropriate in the areas I've mentioned earlier. And how, after such review, the advice likely from your manager and from your township attorney would be to not touch the resolution. I would ask the board to stand up and decline the Coastal Alliance's invitation to, if you will, rubber stamp a resolution that furthers their agenda. And if you're not willing to do that tonight, which I think you have enough information that you could do that, at least send it to your manager and to your attorney to have reviewed. At the time you address this, if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from that row here have any comments? The next row? Seeing none, how about way in back? Table?
I have an issue, it doesn't pertain to what you're talking about.
It doesn't, you can make public comment.
Hi, my name's Paul Gemeinhardt. I have a lot on 63rd Street, and I wanted to get a variance for a shipping container for storage in my property. I called and I talked to somebody named Lene, and they said it's not allowed. And I drove here, I saw 2 shipping containers, one on 3381 Blue Star and one on 2295 Blue Star. So if they're legal to have them there, why shouldn't I be able to have one on my lot? And how would I go about getting a variance to have it together? Or was she speaking incorrectly? Is it legal to have it?
I think we can have Lene get back to you tomorrow if you want to leave your contact information.
Sure. Who do I give it to?
One is right next to my, which I don't think it's supposed to be there.
Great, thank you very much.
I'm glad that I didn't try to spell your name. Thank you.
You're so involved in this station. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Last call. Okay, we'll close the public comment period and look to the agenda.
Jane, and I'm sorry to do this, and I can't really give you the history, but we've gone back and forth. First of all, I want to say we listened to everybody, all the correspondence and everything. But what I would like to do concerning the agenda is, on the advice of staff and legal counsel, I would like to make a motion to remove business item 11D from the agenda, which is the yes, thank you.
Can you just read that? I have to have it for the motion.
Yes.
Just the resolution.
Oh, you need the number?
No, you did it. Or I can just leave it as 11D.
Okay.
Resolution supporting master plan and alternative marine plan.
Right.
Correct?
Correct. Yes. I'd like to remove that from the agenda.
I'll support that.
Any discussion?
I'd like to add, rather than alter the resolution, I would just like to make a public request. The township board, all of us have only been on here at the most a year and 1 month. Shortly after the election last year, we did have a closed door board meeting with legal counsel to update us on various legal issues. That was over a year ago. 2 of our current 5 board members were not present at that meeting, so I'm hoping we can set a similar meeting up very soon, at the latest in February, to further address not only this issue, but there might be other pending legal and litigation issues that we need to be updated on more sufficiently.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll take, all those in favor? Aye. 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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended? So moved. Second? Support that. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Now we're on to the review of invoices. John, I'm gonna ask for some help. Did we have a report from Lori? Yes.
Well, there's the roster in front of you, plus there are additional invoices that came in that need approval as well. That's this piece of paper here, totaling $8,000. I can ascertain, sorry, that there's nothing unusual, out of the ordinary here. If people have any questions, I know I can answer them as well.
I know this total seems kind of high, but some of that was for the road work that was done. So I'm a little bit, oh, I see it here. I would, ask for someone to make a motion to approve the bills and payroll.
I move we support the bills and payroll submitted by the deputy clerk for approval by the board.
In the amount of
$158,786. That's the revised. Sorry, thank you.
You're welcome.
The new revised figure, $225,036. $225,036.54.
I'll support that. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next, these are all together.
Yep.
So the next, item is our treasurer's report.
Perfect segue, thank you. All right, this is, every month I like to report to the board and the public, on the state of our, economy here, or our township-run economy. The, general fund bank balance is up to $2.7 million. Just want to point that out. It's been holding steady for the last year, but it did go up by $300,000 in the month of December because tax disbursements back to the township that we collect have been started to be distributed to us. Both revenue and expenses, though, I will point out, are running about 10% behind budget in the general fund. I'll jump ahead because we just talked about this. Just I wanted to point out that the increase to 2.7 is with increased spending in December. Some of the notable expenses we incurred were, as Cindy just mentioned, $22,000 in change for the water main that went out to the VSB building site on the other side of Blue Star Highway. We also spent just under $140,000 to the county on approved road work. And smaller amounts, but one that only happens once a year, we did pay our auditors for their audit, $8,000. That was completed in December as well. Despite all that, the year-end net within the general fund is at a healthy $72,000 positive. On a related note, our one investment, our CD, is valued at $753,000. That went up $1,000 in the month of December. And I mentioned those expenses. And it's also a benchmark. We have finished half of the fiscal year. 2 quarters are complete. We're now in 3rd quarter. Winter tax season continues collection until February 29th. And I need, in that vein, to submit to the board this next page. This was the total amount of tax disbursements made back out to our partners on January 3rd. Totaled $1.3 million. So I'm going to entertain a motion, or introduce a motion that we approve the disbursement, which was winter payout number 2, that was completed on January 3rd.
Okay, any support?
I'll support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
And there will be 2 other disbursements made in January. We can't approve them yet because we don't know how much money we will have collected. My gut tells me they'll both be in the neighborhood of $1 million each, but I'll have that full detail at the February board meeting.
John, can I ask you something
Yep.
related to, I'll just talk loud, because I'm loud. And this was probably something that I should have brought up at our strategic planning and goal setting session, but have you, and we've discussed it before, have you pursued looking at other investments besides CDs?
I have been, and I've mentioned this at a few of our board meetings, I kept saying, we're waiting to the new calendar year. Well, that's upon us.
No pressure, just
What
want to
I have suggested, because I hear from a lot of people pitching us on potential investment products, I've been collecting names and contacts and had let them know that it would be in the new calendar year. The plan then would be for Griffin and I to work together because we're sort of entrusted with overseeing the investments. And I think we should start setting up, I don't think we want to have 10 meetings, but maybe narrow it down to, I'll share my information, you probably have some that I'm sure people are approaching you as well. So it's a good point. I think it's a good goal for this year that we at least expand a little bit since we only have the 1 CD at this point.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave.
Sure.
Okay, we're on to approval of the minutes for the December 4 regular meeting. Everybody had a chance to review that. Any corrections or changes?
And the regular board first?
Yeah.
Yes. Good.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes from the December 4, 2019 regular meeting as submitted. I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Now let's look at the minutes of the December 14, 2019 special meeting.
I found one little teeny correction. In point 5, public comment, it says Bob Eder is supporting in strategic planning. I believe it should be in support of strategic planning.
Okay, noted.
Is there a motion?
I move we should accept the draft minutes for the special board meeting that was held on Saturday, December 14th, 2019.
As amended.
As amended.
And I'll support.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We have quite a little bit of correspondence this month. We have a letter from John Searles and Don Skipper, which we will talk about later on another agenda item. And we have received a proclamation request that we talked about a little bit in the public comment. And we have a correspondence from Kat Cook in support of the resolution. And we have a correspondence from Dale Harrison in support of the resolution about the Tri-Communities Master Plan. But who am I missing? We got another one from Scott Bosgraff and Carl Gabriel. And that's it.
That's it.
Good job. Thank you, Kristen.
Well, the question, I think that the answer, just to clarify, is because some of these 5 came in today, we have copies of them. Will they get added to the website as part of tonight's meeting?
I'm so sorry, was it?
The correspondence that
No,
we received today?
correspondence that come in after the packet. In the past, what we've done, the
Right.
practice has been, they get added to the packet that is on file here at the township. So anybody can see them, we can, scan them and email them. They're here, they're part of the official packet.
But someone would have to
we don't-
request them, they can't just find them online.
Correct.
The packet traditionally comes down the day after a meeting to the website as well.
Okay. Thank you. Vote.
Otherwise, you'd have to take it off and put it
I
on,
know.
and then you have to have it amended, and it's, so. Okay, moving on, our next item, 10A, is the Blue Star Trail updated joint resolution. As mentioned, we did form a committee to work on the joint resolution. We met with representatives of the city, the township, and the city of Douglas, and we developed this together. So has everybody had a chance to look at that resolution? Yes. Any questions or comments? Or if somebody would like to make a motion? I'll move to approve the resolution regarding the, non-motorized trail segment, as written. Support?
I'll support.
Any discussion? Happy to see some collaboration and some movement on this. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank the members, my two fellow board members, our manager, some of the people in the audience, as well as the input from the two of the cities, which was our stated goal a month ago, and I'm glad it came to fruition.
It's good to collaborate. And any other discussion? Can I be picky? I'm so sorry, but when I'm writing my notes, I have to be really specific. Yes. Would you mind reading the, because it has the resolution number on it and everything? Is this one? Okay. Sorry. You know what? Let me just restate it. Okay, thank you. I move to approve the adoption of Resolution 2020-01, a joint resolution on behalf of Saugatuck Township, the City of the Village of Douglas, and the City of Saugatuck to pursue construction of a non-motorized trail segment within each jurisdiction. Had it been supported already? You had supported that?
I support.
And
I
you
still
still support? Okay, thank you.
As read.
Okay. This is a resolution, so we'll do a roll call. Marcy? Yes. Elmrick?
Yes.
Osmond? Yes. Bickford? Yes. Motion carries.
Before we move on, would the board like to discuss who would be appointed to that committee at this time?
A new committee, you mean, or so?
So, the adoption of that resolution creates a joint study committee. Supervisor Osmond and Trustee Marcy were our two representatives previously. This would technically be a new committee, so I don't know if the board wants to discuss at this time who would be its representatives when we move forward, assuming the other two communities both adopt the resolution as currently are.
Are they willing and able to continue, or do we need to entertain
More than
change?
I would be able to do that.
So I'd like to move that we...
For continuity, go ahead.
I'd like to move that we appoint Trustee Marcy and Supervisor Osmond to serve on the new, Tri-Community Bike Trail Committee.
Any support? I'll support. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now we are moving on to the proposed adult use recreational marijuana ordinance. Would someone like to make a motion or have discussion? I'll move. I move to approve ordinance number 2020-01, an ordinance to amend Chapter 5 of the Township Code of Ordinances to allow certain medical and adult use recreational marijuana business operated in accordance with state law and ordinance number 2020-02, an ordinance to amend zoning sections 40-747 and 40-1046 of the Township's Code of Ordinances to regulate medical and adult use recreational marijuana businesses as presented.
Is there any support? Support? Any discussion?
I just want to say that the public hearing, I thought, went pretty well, and the majority of the public there supported this, and then the planning commission did, recommend this.
Did you have comments from Ms. Aldrich on this
Should I
subject?
do those now, or is it gonna wait till the vote?
Oh, okay.
Let me wait till the vote. Thanks.
Okay, so we have a motion and a support, and we finished our discussion, so all those in, is this a, ordinance, roll call? Helmrich?
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Bigford?
Yes.
Marcy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now that it's carried, I'd like to share with you, Trustee Aldrich could not be here tonight because of dealing with her husband's illness, but she did ask me that if this ordinance was approved, as it just was, she would like me to express her appreciation and thanks to the members of the board, and also particularly to our staff, zoning administrator Wells, legal counsel Nick Curcio, manager Griffin Graham, also to the members of the public that have spoken out at the public hearings at both the board and the planning commission. And she applauds this, she's proud of it, and she also wants to say congratulations and welcome to any business people that might benefit from this new adventure that the township is embarking on. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another, portion of the fee schedule that we have to address. Everybody had a chance to see that.
This is regarding the licensing fees,
Licensing fees for the marijuana use. All the different facilities are included.
Want to make sure.
So that's number 2 on page 35.
I move to approve the adoption of Resolution 2020-02, a resolution setting the annual administrative fee for marijuana businesses.
Is there support?
I'll second. I'll support.
And this is a resolution, so we can vote. Osmond, yes. Bigford?
Yes.
Marcy?
Yes.
Helmrich?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, now we'll move on to a connection fee review at 236 Culver LLC, which is a correspondence from
John Saros
John
and
and Mr. Skipper.
Skipper.
I was present at a meeting where we discussed this with the people that wrote the letter, and I think that there is a way that we can accommodate their request and at the same time follow the letter of our ordinance. And I don't know if you have something to add, Griffin or Brenda.
I don't have anything to add other than, yeah, we're moving forward with whatever direction the board sets.
So the proposal is to, instead of requesting the fee be all paid up front in one lump sum, to take it in installment payments. The ordinance allows for that. We just haven't done it before, so it will take a little bit of time to get the agreement put together. But in the meantime, the applicant can move ahead with this construction project. So, do we have a?
Don't have a sample motion, but it would be helpful if that's the direction the board wants.
Yeah.
A motion to direct staff to prepare that agreement.
meeting, so I pretty much have a clear understanding of what we want to do. And the motion would be to allow a separate agreement and payment installment plan for this development as allowed by the current ordinance. It would be at 8% interest and be case-specific and require a contract between the property owner and the township, drafted by the city attorney or the township attorney, and would involve a lien on the property.
What about part 3, or, we talked about
part 3,
2 and 3, yeah.
but, part 3 is a lot more complicated and might be handled better at a future meeting when we have had time to digest this.
Okay, so this doesn't eliminate the possibility of
No,
recommendation number 3?
no, it does not eliminate the possibility of number 3.
Okay. As long as we can be open to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it doesn't eliminate the possibility of reviewing the whole section, the whole ordinance. It just lets the developer
Yes.
know that they can proceed.
Okay, so you made a motion.
Yes.
I will support. I was there as well.
Any discussion?
I have a question just on the history or precedent or comparable from another community relative to the interest rate.
Just about every other community has the exact same provision in their ordinance to allow for the installment payment. I'm not sure if the 8% is part of the ordinance. It is. So, yeah.
My understanding is that 8% is written directly in our ordinance.
But it's consistent with other communities?
I don't have enough information to say that definitively. All I know at this time is that is what's written in our ordinance. I would be comfortable making an assumption that if it was written in our ordinance and reviewed by attorneys in the past, that it is going to be comparable, but I have not reviewed that enough to be able to say that definitively.
It is the same in the city of Holland, that 8%. Did we get support?
Yeah, I support it.
Yeah, that word comment.
I'm sorry.
I guess, again, I'll make my comment now. I don't know if I should wait or not. I just want to underscore something you already said, and I don't know if we need a resolution today or just make it a future agenda item, but as I said last month, I think it's really critical that we do some review of the REU connection schedule, because we have new businesses that exist today that didn't exist 3 months ago. Not necessarily going through every item and deciding if something needs to go away because they don't exist anymore, like a drive-in, but at least addressing new businesses that we don't want to hinder economic development and planning. So I'd like us to be a little more aggressive about looking at that. And as part of that, I would also suggest doing a little more comparable study, and we can also ask Lene Wells to help us on this, on things like interest rate schedules, and if they're adaptable every 2 years or things like that. It's detailed, but I'd like to see us make that effort in the next month or 2.
I think it's important to understand what the scope of that would be and how much it would
Right.
cost looking at that. So I think that's the first step, is, asking, it'd be Dana, possibly, right?
Yeah,
Or,
if I can propose it, sorry. I was going to say, if something the board would like to see is a review of our REU schedule and a review of our interest rates, my suggestion that would fall more under engineering than planning.
Okay.
I can talk to our engineer about potentially putting together a proposal to see how much time and or money that would cost to see what options we would have moving forward. So I can look into getting some information to bring back to the board on what that could look like.
Because perhaps you could modify what he showed us a month ago in a more limited scope.
Sure.
Because I want us, it's hard being reactive when there's an individual case or 2 individuals based on a whole new business that has defied definition before. And the way the world changes, there could be more of these things coming down the path. Thank you both.
Okay, so my motion was to do the immediate agreement, to direct staff to work on that. And again, it's not something that we have to drop everything and
do tomorrow. And then in the future to look at the,
That wasn't part of your motion, we could do that
That was,
separately.
that was comments, so.
Yeah,
comments, well, let's just keep the motion.
Keep the
Yeah,
motion
keep the
clean.
motion as is.
Any more discussion?
We're
No,
done.
lots of things, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Graham, you need us to take action in order for you to pursue that with Mr. Byrd or someone else to get a proposal?
I think I can just have informal conversation with him at this point, and then if he's able to put together proposals, those are something I can bring back to the board before we would pursue any of those.
Fantastic.
Okay, next we have our shoreline erosion resolution. Pretty short and one page, easy to read.
Okay.
Has everybody had a chance to review that?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there anyone that would like to make a motion?
I will. I move to approve resolution number 2020-03, a resolution requesting favorable consideration for assistance along the shoreline in the state of Michigan, and direct the township manager to send the resolution to the offices of Saugatuck Township, county, state, and federally elected officials as follows. County Commissioner Dean Kappinga, State Representative Mary Whiteford, State Senator Eric Nesbitt, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, U.S. Congressman Fred Upton, U.S. Senator Ray Peters, and U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow.
Is that the correction you said you made?
No,
Gary Peters?
That was to the, oh, sorry.
There's a typo in it.
Sure, again, that's for her motion.
Right.
The typo that
Very
was
sensitive.
found is, I just want to clarify that I put the updated version in front of you all. It's just that the final, be it further resolved, that this resolution shall not commit Saugatuck Township.
Oh. So can we change Gray to Gary now or after?
Well,
Yeah, that's
just a
fine,
motion,
yeah.
so it's just as what's stated. That won't actually show up.
Right. But I do need to add the bit. No? You haven't? No, that doesn't need to be, that's part of the resolution, so it doesn't need to be added to the motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yes, good. Okay, did we have support?
I support once the change is made to the senator's name.
Okay. We'll do a roll call. Bigford?
Yes.
Marcy? Yes. Helmrich?
Yes.
Osmond? Yes. Motion carries. Yes, okay, 11B. Request to repurchase 2 cemetery grave plots. This is quite routine and we've done it before without too much comment. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the repurchase of 2 cemetery grave plots from Friedrich Jackson in the amount of $120 per grave plot, which totals the cost of $240.
Support? I'll support. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Goal and priority setting workshop results. This is not an action item, but, I hope everybody had a chance to look at those. We spent quite a bit of time working on them, and so did our facilitator, getting them to us.
make a comment?
Yeah,
The
please.
potential action and why this is under action is staff looking for guidance regarding next steps from what the board would like to see. If that is staff drafting a business plan, a 2020 priority list. I mean, there's a variety of different directions that we could go now that we have the objective results of the workshop. So that's why it's on the agenda as an action item. I'm looking for just direction.
I had a suggestion to offer for us to consider that could become a motion or not. First of all, I want to thank Griffin and Mr. Vandenberg from Ottawa County, because the session was incredible. We've been wanting to do it for a while. I'm not sure any township board has ever done it in the past, and we hope to do it on an annual basis perhaps. A lot of good stuff came to the forefront. We've had a couple of members of the public come and sit through, which was great. I don't know if any of the audience has looked at this, but we broke these ideas, priority/project issues into 4 main categories, and they are financial stewardship, communication/collaboration, organizational/improvement, and sustainability. I was thinking maybe one way to approach this, because it's so big, that we've had a lot of success in the past this board doing 2-people committees. So I'm wondering if we maybe set up a committee for each of these 4 things and assign 2 of us to do them, and we could perhaps even invite some members of the public, not too many, keep it manageable, and set a date to try to report back with some more cohesiveness and suggestions on how we meld the 4 areas into one priority to help staff and board to move forward.
I hesitate a little bit on that because our township manager has put a lot of effort into this and has already made some lists and activities that he's been actively pursuing, and I think asking the staff just to draft a priority list would probably be appropriate at this time. Not that we don't want to be involved in it, because we were involved in it. We were intimately involved in it, and we will be.
Okay.
And if he just does a draft priority list, that should be adequate to get us pointed in the right direction and make sure when he brings it back to us that we're all on the same page.
Are you envisioning one master list or 4 under these categories?
I'm envisioning one master list.
Okay.
I think he could go by rank.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, all of these things cannot, it'd be too much. We already have this other very comprehensive list, so I kind of assumed that we would just take the top categories, top 3.
Well, there's other considerations that we have to give to that too. Some things you can do in a week, some things you can do over a year or a year and a half. So you just rank by itself I don't think is enough. It's capacity.
If I can jump in real quick. I think one of the exciting pieces of having this as the result of the workshop is to have a couple of these say these are the objective rankings. It is purely the results of the exercises that you all did as a group on the 14th. From there, we now get to take this in if the board desires, move it into okay, what can we realistically accomplish in 2020? Part of the reasons for that is before we know it, we're already going to start moving into next fiscal year and starting to put together the budget. And it's extremely helpful for staff as well as a good financial practice to connect your goals for the year to that budget.
Right.
But, just some examples I'll point out is upgrade facilities was one of the highest ranking items. Putting together a draft list could be suggesting some possibilities of what could be upgrades in the next year, but we're obviously going to have more conversation about that because just upgrading facilities not only is so broad, but that comprehensive update of our facilities could take years. And that's just as one example. So the other piece that I'll point out if I can, is, I've continued to make some improvements to the master, project list. I think one of the other things to consider as we move forward is we've already got several projects that are moving. So when we move into what our 2020 goals are, that's probably going to be a mix of advancing projects that have already been started and are already moving, and newer projects that we've talked about in goal setting. So I think that's the advantage of not taking just the highest ranking ones. Obviously, whatever I would bring back, if that's the direction the board wants to move, I mean, it's for all of your review, feedback, consideration. It can be amended. It's, at the end of the day, it's the township board's goals and priorities. And like many other things we've done, you know, my hope is that we have 5-member buy-in, because that's how we can be most effective with this. You know, as John mentioned in Cindy, you know, there are several different ways we could move forward from here. I think the important part is let's pick one, let's move forward with that. And the other thing is if this is something we want to continue to do year after year, if what we like this year in terms of the next step from here isn't what we like, we can reevaluate the year and we can try something else.
Couple thoughts. To go back to John's comment about committees, I think that that's really helpful in some of the projects, and some of them, like say, maintenance schedule. I don't think we need a committee for that, you know. So I think there could be some on that list that definitely, you know, if we did, you know, revamp the entire facility, we might want more than one person involved in that. So I do like that idea, and I think that could be helpful. I guess one suggestion would be just for, and I'm looking for feedback from you, Griffin, is for you to consider the ranking and the capacity and make a proposal or a suggestion, a plan from there for further board actions that we're going to take action on. That's my suggestion.
So I just want to clarify that I'm reading this right. The rank number, the higher number, is the highest rated.
Yes. And votes.
So that's, okay.
And yes, votes are the number.
The vote number is kind of irrelevant because that was within the universe of the or category.
I would say a vote is very relevant. Yeah. That's the number of board members who identify that as a high-ranking item. So we could have items that received a higher number in rank, but only received one vote, which means that was only identified by one board member. That doesn't minimize the importance of it, but...
No, I understand. But isn't that because it was ranked within the fourth category area?
Number of dots.
Okay.
Votes was number of dots, so number of board members who voted at any level for that item, where rank was, I think you voted 1 through 12.
Right.
So rank are the higher numbers for each of those. I think why we're on this, and again, it's an important conversation. If you look in Mr. Vanderberg's letter, one of the important things for us to understand too is, if I could just read a sentence of his, I recommend that you complete a business plan based on the rankings and take it, so based on the rankings, which goes exactly off what you all have said, and take it on for board approval. Report at least quarterly on plan progress and hold some type of strategic planning event each year, which we've also talked about, to celebrate successes and to plan next steps in your journey. So I think there are several pieces we can consider. Do we all need to do those right away? Maybe, maybe not. That's up to the board. But there are several levels of iteration that a strategic plan, a business plan can go to. I've shared examples from Ottawa County with you that I view those as the Cadillac plans. I obviously don't think we're to that level yet, because this is the very first time we've done something like this, but starting to take steps in that direction, I think is only beneficial for us as an organization.
I just want to comment, there are a lot of things on here that are already happening. There are some that are almost done. There are some that are going to happen no matter what rank they get, because they have to with budget planning. And I'm concerned we don't have the staff and the software and the wherewithal to do that sort of plan that Ottawa County can do. We have pretty much us and a couple other people. And I'd like us to kind of figure out a way to address that so that, I'd like to, by March, say, these 3 things are done or almost done, versus we're still working on the power company. And that makes me nervous because time goes really fast.
My plan would be to have something for you all potentially after February. I don't think we would get to the level of what Ottawa County does. I agree.
But that would be all you could.
No, I agree completely. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. That was the point I was trying to make, is I think that's something to strive for. I don't think we are there.
Right.
And to your other point, I think that's exactly why we also have the master projects list, because that shows you what projects we do already have going. I think understanding that a 2020 goals and priorities list is going to be a combination of multiple of these things, currently ongoing projects, some that will get completed, others that we're just going to try to advance within the next year, and others that we might be starting for the first time. But you do make a great point. I mean, it all comes down to capacity. But that's why, again, at least from the staff perspective, something like this is so helpful, because when I get into that position of I've got a million things to work on, I can then go, what are the board's top priorities, and then I can spend my time on those things. If I can, you're also absolutely right when you say there are things that are going to happen regardless. Yep, those things, opening the door every day at 8 is probably not a good goal, because goals are supposed to be, exactly, goals are supposed to be bigger picture. So there are going to be things that we're going to do every day regardless.
If it's not on the list, it doesn't mean we halt that activity.
But it also doesn't mean that we can't forget about the time and energy and effort that those day-to-day things take.
Well, I want to reiterate again, thanks to Griffin, because when I worked full-time, we did a lot of this, and I would always, when they said we're going to do another strategic planning session, I would just roll my eyes. But when you're done, first of all, I think it was a good bonding experience, and it's always good when you're done, because you can tell we get all this correspondence, we get people coming from all angles. We have something to make decisions with to better help us. So, thank you.